Okay, yeah, it's a privilege, honor to be here this morning. It's always good to be at University of Ilorin. So University of Ilorin, kind of, long story short, it gives me memory, and it's a very good memory. I was born in Ilorin, by the way. So I grew up in Ilorin. And for actually everyone that went to my school at the time, the university that I wanted to go with the University of Ilorin. I was the only one odd out because I said, I've been in Ilorin for too long. I have to go somewhere else. And I went to ABU. So again, another story is the fact that when I was growing up, my father, so we had a farm not too far away from here. So as a young boy, we actually used to pass through University of Ilorin. And there was this geographical garden or something around somewhere that something will be going round and round, and in my head, I will be telling myself, one day I will be here, one day I will go to university. And it's a privilege that I went to university, but I didn't come to University of Ilorin. However, and this is an interesting story, in 2018, I was awarded my full professorship by my university, but I got it by email. I got it by email actually here. I came to Nigeria for an event, and I got in my email like a day before my talk at University of Ilorin. So the citation that I sent across for my presentation, I was still a reader, an associate professor at the time. But by next morning, I was already a professor. So I said it. In my talk in 2018 that it's a very great privilege for me that a university that I used to walk to the farm with my father, on his bicycle, would drive here, and I would say, I'll go to that university. Even though I didn't go to the university, I actually gave my first presentation as a professor here at this university. Now, what can I say? It's really a great opportunity, once again, and a great honor to be here. I mean that, it's not a cliche, I actually mean it from my heart. It's always a great blessing to kind of stand in front of people like this. Again, as a young boy, I used to see people do this, and I used to tell myself, one day I'll be doing it, and I'm doing it now. So if you're out there, and you're thinking, okay, I want to do like that daily over there, it's possible, because I used to have that dream too, and I still have a lot of dreams, and hopefully one day I'll be able to be alive to live those dreams. So thank you, Professor Ahmadu. Thank you, Dr. Caroline, my professor, sorry, my name just skipped my name. Professor from University of Ilorin, sorry. Are you going okay? Thank you, my professor. Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for inviting me. So, what I'm going to be talking about today is very interesting. It's deliberate. It's actually deliberate, something that is dear to my heart. It's going to provoke you, hopefully. It's going to be something out of norm. It's not so, it's not my field, so I'm not even an expert. So what is good about it is that, yes, I'm a professor, but I'm not a professor on this topic. It's something that I've had to learn myself, so we are learning together. Does that make sense? So in the next 1 hour, we are learning together, really. So because it's not something I really know fully, it's something that I realized we have to get involved in. And I thought, because this is really talking about artificial intelligence for female in STEM, this is really very appropriate. Okay, so, is that working? All right, so, I just want to, just as a lecturer, you always try to test your students. So you are like my students now. So for those who attended my lecture at University of Nile in 2021, who can tell me briefly what this picture is about? In just one sentence, a few sentences, anybody here? I'm sure there will be one person that will play. What is this? What is this picture about? Anyone? What? Nature, okay, nature, okay. Yeah, agree. But actually, I was specific. I gave a presentation in 2021, and it's related to this topic. So I think at least I know 2 or 3 people that were here. If you don't raise your hand, I'll call you now, because I've seen you here. Anybody, just to be sure I didn't waste my time in 2021. Anyone? Okay, nobody? All right. So, you see, this picture is, all right, there are things that we know, even if we are not there in 2021. What is this? This one? It's a zebra. Okay, what is this one? It looks like buffalo. Okay, good. But it's called wild beast. It's like a buffalo, but it's wild beast. So one of the things you see about these two animals is the fact that they are very different. Okay, they're very different physically. So that one looked very colorful and beautiful. You can see the other one very rugged and so on and so forth. But actually, that's not the only thing that is different about them. Other thing that makes them really very different from each other is the fact that zebra can see very far. It can see really far. The wild beast, on the other hand, has something that is called swarm intelligence. So zebra, yeah, if you have 500 zebra in a field, and maybe a lion or a predator comes around to attack one of them, what do you expect the zebra to do? The zebra will just run away. That's what it does, it just run away, okay? Whereas wild beasts, on the other hand, they have something called swarm intelligence, meaning they will come together and fight the predator. If you attack one of them, the rest will fight against you. Does that make sense? But they cannot see well. They have very bad eyesight. But they can hear. They hear really well. Sharp hearing abilities. Both of them eat grass, but actually they eat different parts of the grass. One eats the part closer to the root, whereas the other one eats just the leafy parts of the grass. They don't eat exactly the same thing. When they need to cross the river, they behave differently, which really help one to be able to help the other and so on. So I'm kind of giving you different aspects, different traits and features of these two animals. Very different, okay? But you see, these animals travel for thousands of kilometers every year, in Africa, in Tanzania, and some parts of East Africa. They travel from one part, maybe as far as maybe from Ibadan to like Borno State or something like that, all right? In search of food, avoiding predators and so on. So in the course of doing that, even though they are physically different, they actually travel together. They travel together so that zebra can see the predator far away, all right? So that the wild beast can hear what is going on. So that, if there's something to attack them, instead of zebra running, hectare running away, and a few of them will die, wild beast will come around and attack the predator. So what I'm talking about here is simple. All of us are created privileged. So I hope that can sink in you right now, what that means. Everyone created, everyone sitting here, you are privileged one way or the other. So sometimes you may not agree, sometimes you overbloat your privileges. Maybe if you are from a very rich background, you think, oh, that means privilege, all right? If you are very beautiful, you are privileged. If you are, whatever that you have that makes you stand out, that is positive about you, makes you privileged. But everyone actually is privileged. That's one fact, number one fact. And it's not new, I didn't discover that. That's a known fact, okay? The other one is that for you to move together in life, for you to advance in life, you actually need people to come together. But when they are all the same, it doesn't work very well, okay? So if wild beasts, even if there are 1 million of them, they go on that journey, it's going to be a very difficult journey. Because when they are going together and they are singing and enjoying themselves, then there's no problem. The problem will come when there is problem, okay? If there's any challenge, and we all know that there will be challenges in life. In fact, you do well, we are paid to solve problems. Does that make sense? So you are paid more if you solve more problems. So but if you are the same, you don't solve problems well. So it means you need people of different background, and that is when you bring them together, you have what is called complementarity. So if you have people with complementary skills, you bring them together and then they do well. So we've seen that in animals. I use animals a good example, all right? So what I'm saying here is, in a very simple term, is that diversity increases capacity. So I did that with my Ph.D. One of the protocols that I developed was really to use multiple antennas to communicate. So if you have a mobile phone that has one antenna, and you have another mobile phone that has 4 antennas, the data that the one that has 4 antennas will carry yeah, and the speed, the latency and everything will be much better than the one with one antenna. That's why the latest and the mobile phones that you have now, they have multiple antennas. It's called MIMO system. So the same, if you have one road to University of Ilorin, and there's only one road that gets here, all right? You just need a blockage on that road or construction going on that road, or then there will be a lot of traffic. Does that make sense? Or if there's something going on, there's an accident, then you can't go out. But if you have multiple ways of getting out of that locality, then it helps you to be able to, more people to go out to have more throughput. The same. Diversity increases capacity. So if you want to collaborate, you want to move far in life, there's an African adage that says, if you want to move fast, as in F-A-S-T. If you want to move very fast, go alone. Okay, but if you want to move far in life, you need to work with others. You need to collaborate. So that is kind of the background of my talk. So today, I will be talking about something. So look at that picture and please look at it well. Look at it intently. Maybe you can write down what you can see, a bullet point of what you can see from that picture. Okay, good. So, I'll be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So when we talked about diversity, we're just talking about the us, okay? And the variety of unique experience, qualities, and characteristics that we possess as people. So it's really as diverse as that, okay? You are tall, you are short, light skin, dark, you speak really well, you are somebody who is quiet, just name it, physical, whatever. So what makes you a person and what makes you different from the other person? So that's what diversity is about. That's when you talk about diversity, you're looking at that in that context. But when we're talking about equity, equity on the other hand is really looking at, okay, we are different, but how can we as people have access to opportunities? So I'm looking for a very good example. When you look at the whole idea of equality, there's an internship for those who are doing engineering here. You go on internship or you're looking for placements. So just imagine that this company's policy is that, well, when you come for placements, you don't get paid. Okay? And you are not going to be given an accommodation. Can you just quickly, just from what I've just said now, I'm giving you a placement to work in my company for 6 months when you're at 400 level, if you're studying electrical engineering. But, that's all. We make sure, and then we're going to test you, and it's equal, the same type of exam. It's just that when you pass and you get in, there's no accommodation, there's no transport and things like that. So, on the surface of it, when you look at it from common sense, the company has not done anything wrong. Because what they've just provided is equal access through exam to get everybody in. Alright? But actually, there are kids that they can even pay the salary. Alright? They can pay the salary of the manager. Alright? There are students, I'm sure you'll be in class with one of them. When I was in ABU, I was in class with many people that would pay, like the whole of my department, they would pay the lecturer's salary. Right? And they are young people. Because of what? Because of their background. Okay? Their characteristics from a rich home give them that opportunity. But there are kids that, look, if you don't have access to money, you cannot do that placement in Lagos. And because they're not going to pay anyway, the guy would rather do some whatever in Ilorin and make some money because he's the one that will pay his school fees when he comes back in 500 level. Right? So equity is really looking at equality in a different way, which is really giving everybody opportunity at access level. You see, you cannot influence so much when it comes to outcome. So If I have an autistic, I hope we all know what autism is about. You know, there are some people, maybe they have learning disability or something like that, but they are very smart. They are good in other things. They are just slow in some areas, okay? So it means the exam will take them longer than average people. They will have been tested by the doctors, and the doctor will know that, well, this person is slow learner, okay? What you don't do is you don't check the exam. The exam is the same thing, okay? But equity, you said the same exam, but equity is that you've been tested and you give them extra time, or you give them computer to type in, and so on and so forth. I'll come back to some of this later. But that is, diversity is we are different. Equity is that we need access, you know, it's like justice. We need access to opportunities, you know, and it needs, at that point, it needs to be equitable. Yeah? And the last one is inclusion. So you see, when the world talked about diversity, you know, I think, oh, we need more women, for example. So part of the diversity is actually gender diversity. We'll come back to that later. We say, okay, we need more women in this committee. We need more women to be part of this thing that is going on and so on. And what do? You just get the women, one nice woman in the department that is not causing trouble, that is not talking too much. You bring two of them there and so on and say, after all, Dr. Shalawa is there, sister so is part of it, so there are women there. Well, there's a difference between people being present in a committee from having a sense of belonging. So actually in inclusion, you are talking about people feeling that they belong. Yeah, they are different, all right? You've given them access to opportunity, but you also make them feel like they are not just warming the bench, you are not doing them a favor. Actually, they are part of the system and they are working to move everything forward. So that diversity, equity, and inclusion. So in diversity, we are thinking of people and their perspectives. Equity, we are talking about policy, practice, and position. And you know, in inclusion, we are looking at power, voice, and organization's culture, how you are changing the culture to include people. So in terms of diversity, these are different areas. So don't just think about, so I've made it because gender is just one of them. Okay, there are many other areas when it comes to diversity. So in physical one, it could be age, okay? So what you will find is that as you grow, you are younger now, you can access this computer, you know how to use mobile phone, and so on and so forth. You see, as you grow older, you get to your 50s or something like, new technology will come, all right? And younger people will catch up earlier than you, and people expect you to deliver at the same level, all right? So age is part of that diversity. What do you need to do to make the older people feel like they're still part of they are not useless now, all right? And so on. So it could be nationality, ethnicity, culture, your physical and mental ability. Some people are just brilliant. There's nothing you can do about it. And some people are slow learners, all right? That doesn't make them useless. Actually, my class, when I finished university, it's not the best of the best in the class that are actually on top of the world. They're doing well, by the way, but I've just found people that finish maybe in the tutu or something like that, started their own business, employing, hundreds of people. So, diversity. Diversity of beliefs, diversity of experience, actually diversity of perspective, diversity of political views. There are different things that people could be. Background, like I said, somebody rich, somebody poor, somebody live in a face me, I face you, and someone is driven to the school every day with bodyguard and so on. There's nothing to apologize for in that. It's just your life. And the guy who doesn't have that has something as well. It's just a privilege, but in privilege there's diversity, and in that diversity you need to understand how to collaborate with people, because there are things that you don't have that you need from others. Okay, so let me look at equality versus equity. So because sometimes this topic is kind of difficult, because when you are privileged, you kind of want to maintain that privilege. You kind of think, well, what's the big deal? Or look for excuse why the person that is not privileged or the person that is disadvantaged should wake up, or they should just, they should do better. You are brilliant and you just read 2 pages of a book and you know it quite straight away. Somebody might take 2 weeks and you just think, oh, they are not serious. It's because, why is it that they are dumb or something like that, right? They are just different. Nothing is wrong with them. They are different. Okay? And there's no guarantee that you're going to be better than them in 10, 20 years' time. So this is why you need to be aware. So let's look at equality and equity. Okay, this is already being done, for example, in relay race, okay? You see, when you are running around a circle, okay, there's something here that gives advantage or privilege to somebody, yeah, to somebody who is inner lane compared to somebody at the outer lane. And that is why in relay race, what do? So this is equality, this is what? Equity. To make sure that you are not giving somebody unnecessary advantage over the other, all right? So that's what that. The same, let's say the aim of this process is you want everybody to get to the other side at some point, and you give them bicycle. You give this little girl same bicycle as the lady, as the man, as the woman, as the person that is disabled. Does that really make sense? No, but that is equality. So in equity, you make some allowances, you make some changes that make it possible for the disabled person to be able to move. The man that is very tall to have a higher kind of bicycle, and little one has a little bicycle, and so on. At the end of the day, there is really no guarantee. Look, this disabled person, when he has the right kind of bicycle, might actually get to where he's going before you. All right, the little girl, but when you make it equal, what then happens is it makes life difficult. So that's equity. So in inclusion, you are trying to be balanced. Like I said, it's more of a sense of belonging. You want people not just to feel, oh, well, I can see somebody look like me here. All right, oh, this institution, this research group, this university, actually it looks like they have women, a lot of women. Well, that is good. But actually, you want to go beyond that. That they are not just women that are there for the sake of being there. You make adjustment to make them feel that they are there. Okay, so an example is if somebody is on wheelchair, how would they be able to get into this room? All right. So that's one example. Another example is if somebody is deaf, is there a possibility that they will be able to attend this lecture? And because they know that there's no provision for that, some already ruled themselves out already. Well, you should understand, and nobody to interpret for you, and so on and so forth. Remember, like I said, we're all learning this. I'm also saying this, not that we change everything today, that as people, we are aware of our society. Another reason why this is important is this. This grant, we receive it from an international body. They are funding it because they want to collaborate with you as Nigerian organization. And this is going to grow. You're going to be working with international countries all over the world. And then you are going to see yourself as, okay, let's say I am black and I am Nigerian. And suddenly you want to fight for your rights. All right? To say, as a black person, I should be treated with respect. Is that correct? That is correct. Why? Because that is your own the diversity characteristic. But somebody else will have a different one. And that is why we need to be aware. What are those things and how can we make adjustments? Just as we want to feel comfortable when we go around the world, when we work with others, we want to feel comfortable. We should also make people comfortable as well in working with them. So, actually, DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, is not something that is just dreamt of. Like I showed with white beast and zebra earlier on. They do well, they protect each other, and they're able to travel far because they're actually different and they are working together. The same thing applies to human. McKinsey carry out research, over the years, started from 2015, they had another one, 2018 and 2020. And it shows, over 1,000 companies that people they interview, that actually companies that have diverse workforce or diverse board especially, they outperform those that just have the same kind of people. And that could be maybe religion, it could be maybe all male board or all white board or something like that. They look at that and they realize when people, just like white beast and zebra, when people are diverse, they bring different perspective to the table. And that helps them to produce even better. So the same, they found out that, if you have more women on the board, 30%, you have 30% more productivity. Okay? So in 2019, they also look at diversity in terms of cultural diversity, people from different ethnic groups. Have you noticed, banks in Nigeria, some of the top companies and so on, when you look at the board, you see people from, I was in one talk and I was giving an example of collaboration, I was explaining, and somebody would say, why do I need to call people to collaborate? And I said, well, the rich people, go and check all the multimillionaires in Nigeria. You will see that they have friends across boundaries. They are friends to Hausa, Igbo, wherever. They walk along with them. Dangote is doing wedding, you will see $10, you will see the one there, right? This is life, this is reality, because you need this complementary thing. Everybody is working together. It's working at the top level. You can take it to any level, research your studies, and you find that it actually works very well. So ethnicity in religion, in whatever thing, diversity increases capacity. So I think I've spoken for a long time now. Let's just test ourselves a bit. Okay, so diversity is not just about race and gender. Yes or no? Diversity is not just about race and gender? Yes. Yes, so it's not just about race and gender. Actually, it's about, in Yoruba language, they will say, exactly. So, like a young kid, is too short to be able to take something from the shelf, because the shelf is so high. All right, so you can be laughing at the small kid as, oh, look at him, he's just a little kid. You can, okay, I'll help you now, and you help because you are taller than the little kid. You help the little kid to bring something down from the shelf. But the older person too, your arm is just too big to go into certain safe. Okay, it's too big. Sometimes you need to call the kid to say, please help me take that thing from that bottle. Oh, help me take. Does that make sense? So the same diversity, because one is small, one is big, you come together, you are able to go further. Yeah? Okay, equity and equality means the same thing. Good. Equity and equality, they are not the same. Actually, there are people who, they are, just to mention, there are a lot of research going on, and some people actually argue against equity because they think equity is actually discriminatory. That if you start making people, giving some people advantage, that's like an advantage and things like that. So there's a lot of research going on, but what I can tell you is that there's a business case, for equity, meaning that it just makes sense, from animals to human beings, it makes sense that you help people who are disadvantaged, and disadvantage could be any disadvantage from the list that we have shown. Inclusion is about bringing people into a group. Are you sure? Inclusion is about bringing people into a group? Yes. No. Okay? Yes, no? No. Yes, no? Okay, so I think the answer is no. You bring them to the group. But if they are in the group and they don't feel a sense of belonging, they call it tokenization. You just think, well, all of us in this group, we're all certain, maybe we are all men, or we are all this religion, or we are all this. And actually, we are leading people that are, from different backgrounds. All right, let's bring a woman to this group. And the woman gets to the group, but she cannot make any decision because you shut her down. That is not inclusion. Even though the English says you have included her, you have not included her, all right? Because she doesn't feel like she belongs there, all right? So, if you hire a Muslim lecturer in an Islamic university, I made this deliberately because of Summit University, okay, because they are leading this team. If you hire a Muslim lecturer in an Islamic university, that doesn't help increase diversity. You think it's yes? You think it's no? All right, so I just want to make, I know this is going to be slightly controversial. I want to make a point that we need to be careful because they are actually cross boundary when it comes to diversity. You see, that Muslim lecturer, the fact that you are employing him in a university that is owned by an Islamic organization and 100% Muslim, you understand, does not necessarily mean you are not increasing diversity. Because one thing you have done is, yes, he's a Muslim, but he may be from a very poor background. And everybody else in the team are very rich. He may be a Muslim, but maybe the guy is not married. Whereas all of you in the team are married. Actually, this is a good time I should give you an example. When I was there, that was not long ago now. So there's an organization in the UK, big charity actually. I've worked for them, I've volunteered for them for many years. So I became their national director in finance, Okay, I was doing my Ph.D. at the time. So it was very easy to manage. Well, not easy, it was difficult, but in terms of just sitting down to do accounts and send it to the government to approve and get auditors to look at it. And then I became the national secretary again. National secretary is just to write English. And I became the national chairman, the person in charge of the organization, the whole of the UK. And when I started the job, I thought it was going to be easy. Then I realized it was very tough. And you know why it is so tough? It's not what you think. It's one key thing. Everybody that has been in that position before has been very much older than me during that time, earlier that time. They are usually people that they have done really well in their life. They've made a lot of money, and they have, maybe not retired, but they are not looking after children. So any function, any program going on, they go, they attend because that thing, they have to go. And as soon as I became this chairman, I realized somebody is doing something and they invite me. That one, and then there are things calling my attention here and there, and I still have a full-time job. Then in one of the board meetings, I just say to them, I said, gentlemen and ladies, people who are older than me and more senior than me today, my name is Bamidele Adebisi, and this is my age. And my children are this age. I take them to school in the morning, I pick them in the afternoon sometimes. I am a governor, actually, of my kids' school. All right, at the time, I was one of the board of governors of the school. It's a voluntary thing like PTA association. I was one of the board of governors because I wanted to be part of my children going up. So I said to them, sorry, I will not be in anything that is not very important, that is not about this organization 100%. Don't expect me, because you guys, when you were leading, and people that were leading before, you were not in my shoes. You understand? And that was, that's interesting. For them, they didn't see it because they're not in my shoes. They didn't have young kids when they were leading. That is diversity. So in that board, I may have the same faith as them. I may have the same everything as these board people, but I was younger than them, or I have children younger than they've ever had. So I was different. So I could change that perspective to say, well, look, the same with the money. Actually, I remember in the board as well, there was something that happened, and I said, look, going forward, the money that you used to allocate for X, Y, Z, people that were there before are much richer. So they don't take, they don't take claims when they travel. So I will be taking claims here because it's an entitlement, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? So this is how you make adjustments, because you want me to serve. We want to do the work well. All of us cannot be exactly the same thing. We don't all have the same amount of money in our bank account. We don't all have the same set of children with the same age. We don't all have the same age. Actually, I will tell you another story that is interesting. So I lead a team in my university about 34 academics in my research group and so on. There I'm also a line manager to about, I think, 15 or so people. So in line management is basically people that if they want to go for promotion, I vet it. If they want to go on maternity, whatever. And I remember I was in a meeting not too long ago, and we were talking about diversity. And we were talking about it, and everybody was talking about what I knew about until somebody raised their hand. And they talked about, well, it is when we talked about women, it is very easy to look at women from a wife and then raise children. And I was thinking, I have a wife, and I understand the children bit, what she's talking about. Until she said, and we understand how to support women. And I said, I'm actually very good at that. If anybody wants to take their kids from school or something, and you come to me, it's very easy thing for me. But she said, when you get to a certain age as a woman, there's something called menopause. And this is how it affects you. And people don't understand that, because actually sometimes some of your managers are younger than you. And she went on and on and on and on. And that just got to me. And I said, actually, I've heard this thing before. I don't know much about it. Okay, do you know what? I had to go on training on this, full training on this. I've done it on. I can literally give to a lecture on menopause now. I will be an expert one. So that's like what we mean by understanding your team, the people that work for you. Because I don't want a 52 for 50 whatever year old person sitting in front of me, and I'm not able as a leader to make a decision that help them even to live a better life. So there are two women. One is X number of years, have young kids. Their needs is very, very different from a woman who is X number of years, maybe undergoing certain things because they need different things. Does that make sense? Good. So someone who is diverse is more inclusive. No, exactly. I think it's a capital no. Okay. So if you go to, I don't know, you are Yoruba, you go to the north, and you think, well, because I am Yoruba and I'm in the north, and everybody around me is Hausa, and then you say, well, since she's a minority, she understands what it means to be a minority. Let her lead the minority group in this area because she will know. That's not. In fact, some people, the fact that you are a woman, does not necessarily mean that if you don't consciously think about it, if you become head of department, that you are going to help the women coming behind you. That if you become a senior researcher, that when women come, to you, that you are going to support them. You need to think about it. You need to actively, be proactive about this. So, victim of microaggression and never aggressors. Just let me explain what microaggression is. And this is important for you when you start doing international business, which is what we are doing here. So if your name is, let me say, Okoyemi, and I meet you, and every time I meet you, I say, oh, what's that your name again? Oh, PP, yeah, or something like that, because it's difficult, and I keep doing that. All right? It has impact on me. I might think it's a joke, but it has an impact on you. If you are from a particular background or maybe a particular ethnicity, and I make jokes about that ethnicity because I think it's funny. All right? To me, it may be funny, but to you, it is not. So that is what microaggression is really about. So, but the people who actually have experienced microaggression before, people who have been looked down and so on, does not necessarily mean that when they get the opportunity, all right, that they are going to not be an aggressor themselves. Okay. So I'm kind of rounding up now. So how do we go into any organization that you belong to? And when I say organization, by the way, for students, this thing is for everybody, from just you have a student union association, a small group in the community, the people you play with, the football team that you belong to, anywhere that you belong to, all these things apply. That you make people feel comfortable. The way you want to be treated, just treat people like that. Okay? The way you want to be treated, treat them like that. And make sure that you include them. So, how do you move to a multicultural organization? So you can actually, there's a monocultural one. In monocultural organization, you openly devoted to maintaining the majority of the group dominance and privilege. So these are people that are privileged, but you want to maintain that privilege, and you openly say it, look, this place, this is what we do, we don't care of anybody else. Then you can have like a club. It's a club that maintains the privilege, and they are not excluding other people, they're just maintaining the privilege. And then you can go to compliance. Compliance is, okay, the law says we have to bring in women. The law says, some people from other ethnicity might be here. Okay, we'll try to comply, but it's not done fully with their heart, and so on and so forth, until you move to a multicultural environment. In multicultural environment, really, everybody in that place, even though they are different, you make them feel like they are part of the system. So you set up a team in an organization, you have researchers working together. There may be 7 people working on a team. They may come from any different background. The most important thing, they want to get the job done, but everybody feel that they are included in that team. And the fact that you are the manager and you are from the race or the color or the religion or whatever of one of them should not be a disadvantage to any other person in that team. Okay, the fact that you are a man in a team should not mean that you are not sensitive to the needs of women. The same and vice versa is the case as well. Actually, microaggression could be maybe you as a woman saying to a man, come on, man up, you are supposed to be a man, why are you crying? Or you are supposed to be a man, you should be strong, or things like that in a way that in a jest, okay? You are making fun of the person, look at him, and he calls himself is a man, right? What you are basically doing is that you are mocking him based on his diversity, and he's being a man, and that could be to a woman as well. So we want to move from monocultural then to non-discriminating is when, okay, monocultural you have discriminating against others. But in non-discriminating is when you are complying to the rules and you are not against people. But actually in multicultural, you want everybody to have a sense of belonging, regardless of their faith. And by the way, this is from individual to team to leader to organization. And you can do it by training individuals training the team, getting the buy-in from the board, changing policy, changing structures, being careful about how you plan your programs, and so on and so forth. So I can give you a practical example of the way so by the grace of God, I've graduated about, 12, 13 or so Ph.D. students, and about 4 of them are women. And this, interestingly, I think except one, all of them are married women with children. I can tell you, if I have the time, of how I've related with them, and they've done exceptionally well. Actually, I would say that one of them, I think, gave a lecture online last year. At that time, she was my postdoc. Today, she's a full lecturer in one of the departments in our university. She's doing really. She had a baby at the beginning of her PhD, and she finished her PhD back on time in 3 years, and she had another baby just before she finished her PhD. And she published more than many of the men I've ever worked with, and so on. And I think it is really about this understanding of, okay, she's a woman, she's privileged to be a woman actually, she's very smart, she's organized, she knows what she's doing, and so on. But how do you make necessary adjustment to help her fit in so that she can achieve all that she needs to achieve? So what are the things that we can do? We can create a business case. So if you want to change an organization or a system, make sure you explain to the people why it is necessary to make changes. You do training, you can do a survey to check for people's mind. What do they think about it? And so on. So I won't go through this, but diversity, inclusion, and belonging is really about, if you have 2 of them and not the 3rd one, there's always a problem. But when you have all of them well together, you have people with sense of belonging. So this is the picture I asked you to check at the beginning. All right, and I asked you to note something down, and this is the picture now. So we see in real life, I gave the example of that person that was going to go on placement or internship in Lagos from Ilorin, and you select maybe 5 of them, the best student, they are very good. Okay, the guy that is already rich knows the CEO. Okay, the father knows the CEO, made one call, no test, nothing. He got the job, and there's a driver that is taking the kids to that place every day. He's enjoying in a very good hotel. So this is really the reality, is that the people who are already privileged, then they have more and more privilege. Okay, this is the reality of life. And then you have some other people, and then you have the guy that is actually very short, maybe has no money, no people, and so on. They have no chance. Remember, okay, just to explain the picture to you, this is like a stadium. And imagine that you are watching what is going on in this stadium in order to write an exam. If somebody has these tall piles, okay, to stand on, they are basically seeing everything so clear. And this one has a one pile, can see it, maybe not as convenient, but this one has none. So let's look at equality. In equality, we give each of them the same stool. All right? The guy who is already tall can see far better. The one that is not tall is struggling, but this one cannot see anything, and you want them to write the same exam. Okay? And then equity is basically you give this more stool, you give me one, so that at access level, they have equal access to information. They don't have equal access to outcome. All right? If this guy is more brilliant, okay, he will still be the first in that class. There's nothing you can do about it. All right? If this were to but when this guy cannot even see at all, you already deny that person access to information. So that's what equity is. And I want to round up by saying, a good organization is actually the one that takes away the barrier completely. You can see this one, there is no barrier, so we don't even need anything. Okay? So that is where we want to be. You see, like I said in my, and this is wrap up now, the question and answer now. When I started, I said something about us as human beings. I can imagine what is going on through our head as people. And you see, first of all, what will go through your mind will be where you are privileged, where you are enjoying the privilege, and in where you are looking at how you are having to make adjustments for somebody else to be privileged. But I want to turn it around as we ask questions and interact. Look at when you are disadvantaged, when others are privileged and you are not. What do you expect from them? Does that make sense? What would be your expectation when you come out of your comfort zone, which you will. If you really want to get to the peak or wherever you want to get to in life, you will. What do you expect of the society, to change so that you can feel a sense of belonging? Don't think too much about what you need to change for somebody else to feel a sense of. Think about, and whatever that you think you have to do, that person needs to do for you to feel a sense of. Begin to think about what you need to do as a person to make people feel a sense of belonging. And by the way, I know, this is Nigeria. Huge number of us here will be people of faith. We believe that. So in creation, we could have been created man only. I think we could have. We could have been created female only. But we are created man and woman. And by the way, when you look at the probability of having male and female, it's always nearly 0.5%, each half-half. Okay, now, you can get to nursing and you have 90% female there, and maybe you get to bricklaying and you have 98% male there, okay? But still, at access level at birth, we are almost 50-50%. So when you disadvantage a woman, what you are doing basically is you are disadvantaging 50% of your economy. It is senseless. You are not doing the woman a favor by giving her an advantage, equity. No. You are doing yourself a favor because if you are a zebra, you need a wild beast to survive. It is a reality. It's not me that saying it. It's just a fact. So for gender, it is clear. But actually, in other characteristics as well, ethnicity, religion, whatever, and so on, it is also really the same. That for you to move ahead in life, diversity increase capacity. Thank you very much. So I'll wait for your question.